All right, we are doing a little bit more vigorous goddess flow tonight. I apologize for the sucky lighting, but it is evening. It's been raining all day, and I really wanted to get this out. Excuse me, I've been feeling it, and I wanted to share it with you. So we're going to focus on really releasing the hips and the legs and jiggling to get it all worked out. So a lot of times when we are wanting to get fitter, when we're wanting to release weight or even just tone muscle, excuse me, a lot of times when we're doing that, we think that more impact is better. And that is definitely not the case. So we can have an impact without really hitting our feet on the ground, right? So we're going to snap our hips, right? So we're getting a lot of impact on the side of our body, but we're also getting a lot of impact internally on the sides of our body. So we're doing a controlled shake, and we can do that in a lot of different ways. So we can do it with our feet spread apart, really snapping. So we're holding our core energy strong, uplifted, holding our girdle in, and just snapping. The snapping action is coming from the back side of the hips, these little chunkos here, this tensor fascia latte. So you can think of it like a teacup latte being pulled to the side, right? We can do our hip circles like we do so often. External on both sides. Ooh, just loosening up. You can go internal, bring your feet together, grounding through the four corners, really engaging through the belly as you roll your pubic bone forward, releasing and contracting in the back, release, contract in the other side, release front, front, back, back, front, front. So this is our controlled contraction and release. So all this work is actually in our core right now. The core in our back and the core in our front. So we have core energy, and then we have core muscles. So we're going to snap forward and back a little bit. So lifting the pubic bone, tilting it up, and then just releasing. We're not snapping back yet. So starting with just pick up and drop. Pick them up and drop them off, baby. So we're just contracting, we're engaging even more when we lift up. It's like we're stoking our inner fire. Feels so good, hurts so good. If it's too much, drop back the intensity or just shake it out, whatever feels good. So when we're dancing, we're joyfully moving, and we are inspired to move in a specific way, we roll with it, right? If we want to shake it out, if we want to swing it out, if we want to bounce, these are primal movements. And when we get inspired to use them, it's really important to roll with it. So we're going to keep playing the same song over and over and really focus on just releasing as much as possible. So we'll bounce, shake your boobies, shake your booty. This is great to do to get nice and juiced up before sexy time. You can do all of this laying down. So if you're tired, you don't have the energy to be standing up, just lay in your bed. Shake your hips back and forth, bounce it up and down. To bounce up and down, you just flex and point your toes, and it moves the rest of your body. So just waiting for the song to go a little bit. I'm just twisting side to side, and I'm engaging my core as I go. So you can kind of even lead with a little scoop by engaging and releasing in these muscles here. These muscles move us in a diagonal. Isn't that handy? So we have muscles that want to help us move in these beautiful flowing movements, if we can just learn how to contract and relax them effectively. So if this is too much, start cramping, or you really can't get a nice flow, that's a sign that you need to work on those muscles and releasing the tension. So what do we do if our side muscles are tight? We get into our positional release, deep unwinding, where we shorten the muscle so it can start to the unwinding process. And this is great to do even if you're not having actual issues with cramping or, you're just kind of wanting to enhance your movement, enhance your flow. Cycling through a deep release of the muscles you're working with is great to do. So we charge them up a little bit, we let them deeply relax, and then they can work even harder. So you see I can go even just a little more. So now we're going to pop the back a little. So this is coming from the sacrum area, but we're still lightly engaged through our low back and our belly. So pop up, let it drop. We're not going forward at all. So pop it back. You're going to engage the low back muscles a little more as you pop up, but then as you let it drop, you let them go as much as possible too. So we're not sustaining their contraction. That's where a lot of people get hurt in doing hip tucks and tilts, and especially with torquing when you're going really fast. So you want to learn to be able to contract and release no matter how fast you're going. If you're going fast, you still need to be able to contract and release. Otherwise, you're going to fatigue the muscle and you're going to move in a way that can aggravate it at some point and possibly strain it. And we want to avoid that because we want to be feeling juicy and in good health. So I'm just stepping side to side, bouncing as I go. So go forward, stepping one foot then the other, moving down a little bit more into a squat. Let me move this down some too, so you can see. So booty in the air. Do a little turkey move. It's more of a bounce than an actual engagement of the low back muscles in this position. We're just releasing the hips, shake them and wiggle them and bounce them. You can twerk in this position if it feels good. It's great. It's a great position actually to release the chest and shoulder tension as well as low back tension. So we're just, hands are right above my knees and just letting that tension go. You can curl forward and arch back. A little bit of standing cat-cow can be great. There's so many things you can do to support one area of your body so it can deeply release, even as you're activating another. So one thing I wanted to do is show you how I use a counter or couch or bed or anything that you can rest on for support, how you can use that to help to get an even deeper release and activation at the same time. So you're going to see my booty, my beautiful booty. Let me move a little closer here. So hopefully you can hear me okay over the rain. It just started up again. So I'm going to use the edge of my bed to rest on, right? So I've got my hands here. Here's my booty. And I'm just letting go, letting my shoulders go. Arching up. Often as you do that, if you've done enough primal movements, if you've done enough bouncing, shaking, rocking, you're nice and lubed up, often just getting in that position and arching a little bit, you'll get some spinal alignment, some spinal adjustments. If that happens, it's great. Don't force it, but the more you do it, the more often that will happen. Ideally, you won't need spinal adjustments at all in an ideal body, but the reality is that most of us do regularly need them. And when we incorporate them into our fitness routine, it's a really natural progression. So it actually, I haven't been to the chiropractor in years. I occasionally will get adjusted, just a super quick adjustment if I feel really sticky, but honestly I haven't had to do that in months. So since I've really been integrating this routine into my days, into my weeks. So this one we're really contracting front and then back. So it's a little more sustained contraction, right? Or a stronger contraction. And that's why my hands are a little bit in light fists. My hands are in light fists and I'm really, my elbows are out and I'm really rounding forward and then really drawing back. So it's a little bit of a sharper move, although it can be nice and smooth. You can extend. You do that by beautiful wings. That's another way to do it. Just depends on what your intensity level is. Anytime we round forward and arch our back, we're getting a great workout, whether we're sitting, whether we're doing it really actively or more softly. It's super effective for our spine. So just warming up so that when I come to my spot and do my gentle arching, I'm arching and then I'm extending upward with my heart and my throat. And that will often help to align things. If it doesn't, you might need a rotation. And we go into all of that in Align the Spine, how to easily, effectively, enjoyably, and safely and gently align the spine to reduce visits to the chiropractor, to increase health, to increase pleasure and decrease pain, and to make your body more functional. So, getting distracted, but really, what I want to show you is that when we are hanging our chest and we can get that extension, we can drop our chest and squeeze our shoulder blades together, we can do shoulder circles, there's all kinds of things that we can do in this releasing position for the upper body. And we can have a better movement within our hips because we are not, we're not holding tension in our upper body, and the hips are able to move a little more easily. So you can shake them, you can bounce them, bending at the knees and bouncing. You can tilt forward and back. You can do hip circles. There's all kinds of things we can do in this position. Lovely. So let's do just a little bit of chest work. We don't want to completely neglect our upper body. So I'm doing a pop. So draw the shoulder blades together gently as you lift up, engaging through the core all the way from the pubic bone up to your crown. And then, so this whole time we're keeping the belly lightly engaged. As we're arching back, we're contracting our back muscles as we go forward, releasing. When we're all done, we let everything go. Shake it out. It's really important to get that release. Learning to contract and release the muscles in all parts of your body is one of the best ways to slow your aging. Because when we can contract and release any muscle in our body, we can pump fluids through it, we can clear waste products, we can release tension, all that will help clear inflammation. And when we can rhythmically pulse in that way, so contract, release, contract, release, contract, release, contract, release, contract, release, over and over and over again, we're priming that muscle for an orgasmic charge. And when we can orgasmically release our tension, our nerves get so happy. We get so excited. So we're going to do a little bit more juicy movement. This is one of my favorites. So I'm just standing, I'm turning at an angle so you can see. But my feet are hip distance apart, and we're doing shoulder rolls, but we're drawing down towards our hip as well. So the front of our belly is only very lightly engaged, just so we're not pooching out. And we're stable through the hips. So I'm lifting my hip and rolling my shoulder blade down to meet it. It's not going to touch unless you really drop back. But this is sort of a preparation for back bends, as well as a contracting and release for the low back and our belly and our core. So we're getting so much with just these simple movements. Let's do the other side. Shoulder roll, drop towards the hip. This one is such a great one for building an orgasmic charge. And I go into that in another video, why that is, why it's so important to focus on low back contract release. Shake the shoulders out. So you can do those as many times as you want. However much you feel called to do any of these exercises, go for it. I'm giving you an intuitive flow that I'm pulling from so that you can see how I put things together. If you want to know more about each individual exercise, you can go back to the basics. And different videos have different exercises, so just watch through. And if you have any questions, just let me know. So let's lift our hip. Let's see how our balance is doing. Can we balance as we shimmy side to side? If not, keep your foot lower or use a chair or the wall. So when we can lift our foot as we shimmy, then we are getting a challenge for our balance as well, which is a bonus. If you can't do it yet, don't worry. We're just gonna shimmy. So shimmy is side to side, like you have a string, right? And then we can go up and down. And I'm just bending my knees a little bit. Lightly engage through the core and the belly. Draw the girdle in. Okay, we can shimmy on one side only, focusing on the right. So over, 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 over. We can go one side, then the other, as we go up and down. So my shoulders are moving a little bit just with this motion, but overall my upper body is still. So really releasing the hips, shaking it out. This is what I was talking about with impact, right? I'm sweating. My heart is pumping, but I'm not pounding, right? I can bounce if it feels good, but if it doesn't feel good to do a vigorous bounce, I can do a light bounce. Or if it's too much, I don't do any bounce at all, or I lay down, right? So there's all these ways that we can make an impact on our body without having to be impacted into the ground. We want to lift. We want to raise our energy, not grind it down. So let's do we're going to do a fast shimmy side to side. And this one, to do that, we're really engaging our belly, our girdle, our core. So side, 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 really fast as you can. Shake it. This is where booty fat comes in handy because it helps your momentum. But embrace your bootylicious. You know, and when we're doing the chest, and we're jiggling our breasts, let the momentum move you. If it hurts too much, you can support it. But we want to use what we've got to support our healing. So I'm doing a shimmy, right? And I really wish you could see my feet, but I will explain what we're doing as we go. I'm almost there. I've almost got my floor set up. So feet, hip width. I'm gonna start shimmying, and I'm gonna shimmy to my right, bend your both knees, and lift up on the left. And then my hip pops up a little bit on the left. Both feet down, lift up on the right. Shimmy, shimmy, shimmy. Just go as fast as you can. If it's slow, it's okay. If you don't have a big shimmy, if it's just a little tiny one, that's okay. So we're just gonna go side to side. Engaging your core, engaging your girdle. Just side to side. Hips, shoulders are going forward and back. Hips are going kind of rounding side to side. Now we're gonna get into a little bit more focused squats for the last couple minutes, and then we'll cool off. So this was an intermediate style goddess flow, not too intense, but you can definitely moderate your intensity. Go up if you need, take it down a notch if you need. All right, so we're gonna go into squats now. I'm gonna move this down a little bit. So hopefully you can see a little better there. Let's see, we'll go down even more. There we go. It's a little bit better. So we're just gonna start moving into a squat. Hands above the knees. Let your hips go. Bounce it. Let your belly drop and arch up. Good. Now when the music starts, we're gonna go shoulder drop, and we're gonna go lower and lower and lower. Watch your knees. Keep them tight in, not splayed out too much. We're gonna stay down here as long as we can. Go slow if you need, nice and luscious, or go faster. Mix it up. Look how sexy you are. Feels so good. You can shimmy if you like. And just bounce it. Watch those knees. If you're tired, come down to rest. Let your hips drop, let your tailbone drop down a little bit. Oh, it burns. Lift your booty up, stretch out. Oh, burns. Okay, back into a squat when you're ready. Do some bouncing. Go back into your shoulder drops. You go a little wider. I'm gonna tuck up in this direction, in this position. Toes pointed out about 45 degrees. Engaging the belly as we lift up, letting it release as we drop down. Remember, you can always lift up as you draw up from your pelvic floor as well. So pop, pop. I'll show you. Oops. Pop. Squeezing the butt at the same time as we squeeze the lower belly, but we're letting the back be pretty relaxed overall. A little bit of engagement. So really working the front of the pelvis. It's great for getting that muscle tension that we get after birth, that kind of lasts and lasts. This area is really important to have functional for urination. If we have incontinence, tension in this area can play a big role in it. So really popping that and bouncing it, doing our yoni dance, doing our swirls and our pulses and whatever other practice you really enjoy can be very effective for that as well. So when the music picks up a little bit, we'll do one more round of squats before we cool off. So now we're just doing the gentle movements. If you feel like something's coming in you want to do more of, you can. Oh, moving those joints is always a good idea. So I'm pressing, I have my hands pressed as I'm moving through my shoulder circles. And this just adds a deeper stretch all the way into the armpits. Awesome. All right, so when we start up again, we're going to do another round of those same squats. How are your thighs doing? Pat them out. Our thighs are super important. If they're jiggly, it's because the meridian pathways running through them, the myofascial pathways, are dysfunctional. So we got to warm them up. We got to wake them up. We got to activate them. We got to get our nerves back online. My legs have been sort of the bane of my existence since I was a little kid. I've always had really thick thighs, really big booty, really big hips. And now I embrace them, but I'm also learning to have more control over the way they move so that I have less dysfunction. Because when your hips are wider, you tend to have more instability. And that in itself is making a big difference. Everything is just kind of tightening back up again. They were a lot wider just until a couple months ago when I really started focusing on this again, because I took a nice long break. I took a nice long break and I gained a bunch of weight and I felt not as in shape I wanted to be, as I wanted to be. And I realized I hadn't really been doing my goddess flow practice. That was the thing that I was not doing. I was walking still, getting in regular yoga, things like that, but I just wasn't doing these deep contract, relax exercises. So I'm doing the same thing that we did before, where it's contract, release, contract, release, contract, release, contract, release. You go other side. If you can do like 10 rounds of that, the hip circles with a contract release a day, then you're going to make really big progress in the strength of your muscle, of your girdle muscles, their ability to contract and release, and your ability to just let go with your hips. All right, so let's start loosening it up. Ready? Okay, we're going back into a squat, nice and wide. A little bit of a bounce as long as it's okay with your knees. Hip tucks if you want, torque if you want. Circle one side, circle both sides. Just be gentle with your knees, whatever feels good. Your shoulders. Bounce a little deeper. Nice deep breaths. Oh, burn, burn, burn. Get it to where it's burning. Hold it for a little bit and then stretch it out. Oh, yeah. Feels so good. Shake it out. Okay, the last thing we're going to do is a plank because that's just going to draw everything in and then we're going to relax and let it all go. So whatever plank, whatever style plank you like to do, if you need to do it on your knees, it's fine. But if you can do it on all on your hands and feet, then that's great too. So you're not going to see all of mine, but you can see what my belly looks like. It's really drawn and really engaged through the full girdle. My core energy is drawn up. Hands and feet are nice and grounded. So those are our 4 corners of grounding. You draw your shoulder blades back just a little bit as you go. Keep holding it as long as you can. Come down when you need, but it's good to get at least a full minute of plank a day, and then increase from there as you can. So I'm going to do mine when I stop the video, just so I can focus and you're not just staring at my belly. But after that, I want you to just either lie down in a nice relaxing corpse pose with your, it sounds so relaxing, with whatever pillows you need to get comfortable, or to go into a practice like reclaiming the temple or deep unwinding for the side. So if you haven't watched those yet, go to my YouTube, they're on there, or ask me to send them to you, and I will, and we'll get you back on track. All right, more of this coming soon.